tgmods.com. TG Modz is one of the best store in what most would call a gamer's paradise. They have a great variety of cheats for games like Red Dead Redemption 2, 5M, GTA 5, Cs2, Rainbow Six Siege, recoveries, game accounts, Spotify accounts, and much more. All backed up with various payment methods to select from with an instant delivery service at the most cheapest prices out there. You can also join the Discord server with the links in the description for support, giveaways, and much more. Links to TG Modz website and Discord server will be in the description, guys. Enjoy the video. What's up, guys? So today we're going to be checking out Midnight, starting with the basics on making a guide on how to configure its aimbot, and then moving on to some competitive prime matchmaking. Hopping right into a custom map with Midnight and jumping right into the aimbot section of the cheat, here we see a bunch of options in different categories. Going into the aimbot category, we have the enable option where I recommend setting a bind to and having its type to hold on instead of always on, as that will be too blatant. Moving on, we see a few options that are disabled by default where you cannot toggle them, like auto fire, auto stop, and auto scope, as these are deemed as unsafe features and would most probably get you banned. Right below it, we see disable aimbot while flashed and smoke, which I recommend doing so if you're new to legit cheating. Right below, we have the kill delay, which I recommend setting it anywhere from 0.25 to 0.5 of value. Moving on, we have multi-points, of which I recommend setting its point skill to 0.5 and multi-point to medium for legit cheating purposes. The last two options being mouse lock, for pitch and yaw, I recommend the default value of 1. Moving on to the trigger bot category, with the first option being enable, and in the setting icon you get to set a keybind, for which I recommend setting your key and setting its type to hold. Right below it, we have the disables for smoke and flash, which I recommend turning it on if you're new to legit cheating. Going into the last category of the global section, we have the recoil category. Its first option being toggle, which I recommend turning it on. Then we have the return crosshair option, which I recommend keeping it on too. Moving on, we have the start bullet, and I recommend setting its value to 2. As what that essentially means is that your recoil system won't work unless you have shot 2 bullets or more. Below it, we have the X and Y axis, which are your recoil control for pitch and yaw, for which I recommend leaving it at the value of 1. The last option being smoothing, for which I recommend leaving it at 1. Moving on to the weapons section of the aimbot, here we get to see more options that can be configured for weapons individually. Right into the weapon category, here you can select the weapon type. If not, it already automatically selects the current weapon you are holding. Moving on to the aimbot section, we have the enable option, which should be turned on. Below it, we have the hitbox section, and this tells the aimbot what body part you're trying to target. So for example, on pistols being head, on snipers everything would be on, and on rifles head, chest, and stomach. Below it, we have the ignore jump, which prevents the aimbot from working when the enemy is in air, which I recommend turning it on if you're new to legit cheating. Next up, we have the FOV type, and what this is your aimbot targeting range. Setting it to static, which I recommend, would always keep your aimbot targeting within the same value you set. And setting it to dynamic, which is what I advise against, will let your aimbot decide its targeting range depending on the enemy's distance from you. Moving on, we can see smoothness type, and what this does is mainly uses different methods of smoothing, being decrease, where your smoothness will gradually decrease over time, and constant, where your smoothness will stay constant. For this, I recommend using decrease. The last option in the aimbot category, we have the auto fire hit chance, which is disabled by default. Next up, we got the settings category for the aimbot. Looking at the first option, which is FOV, I recommend to set its value anything from 0.1 to a maximum of 3. Personally, I utilize 1 to 2, but occasionally do use a value of 3. Moving on, we got the smoothing for the aimbot, and this I recommend not going below a value of 5 and a maximum value of whatever you want. Remember, the higher your FOV value, the higher your smoothing value also needs to be. Below it, we have the recoil FOV, which I recommend setting it at a value of 3. Next up, we got the recoil smoothing, which I recommend using a value of 20. Then we got the aimbot stop option, which I recommend using a value of 50 to a maximum of 150. The last two options of the settings category for the aimbot being recoil control for X and Y axis, which I recommend leaving it at a value of 1. Moving over to the trigger bot category, first up we got the enable option, and I recommend enabling it. Below it, we have the the hitbox section, where I recommend enabling all hitboxes. Next up, we have the type, which I recommend leaving it at normal as it is. Below it, we have only zoom, which I recommend enabling it to prevent blatant no-scope shots. Moving on, we have the hit chance for the trigger bot, which I recommend setting its value to 50. Below it, we have the delays for before and after shot, which I recommend setting its value to 0.1 and 0.2 if you are new to legit cheating. The last two options being auto wall and min damage, which I recommend leaving it off. Next up, we have the delays category, for which I recommend leaving its value to 0.2 and its type to combo. Over at the last two categories being auto wall and P silent, I recommend not touching those as they are blatant features and should not be used for legit cheating purposes. Moving on to the player section of the cheat, here you get many visual customization options for your enemy and teammates alongside with an interactive ESP preview. The rest of the sections in Midnight are mostly visually based and are based upon individual preferences of selection. So we are going to be doing a quick speedy configuration of those, so for those who are interested can still view the process. Now that we're done with how to make a legit configuration for Midnight, let's move on to some prime matchmaking games.
Counter-terrorists win.
Hello, my nigga. Be a good nigga for my life.
Counter-terrorists win. All right. I'm listening. Bomb has been planted. Terrorists win.
Şöyle çize bakacağız.
내가 여기가. 애야掉了。
nice。我变成基佬。
该起吧。
Ooh, nice.
Nice.
Mid low,敲头。
Nice.
Nice.
Good shot.
Move on.
2楼。
啊？
啊？里面这个笔在说啥？
哎，不知道，不管，那不是说，
他说你最好没开过啊，然后队友说你跑得像那个公鸡打鸣那样那大声。
这哥们儿好像说了个真的。
我操，
这个豹子头，
究极炮打哥，
这两个都有点像啊。
顶子头还是什么？我打都能给我打一两头啊！我不是一次两次的，对面傻逼。
Short plant, boys.
Terrorists win. Throwing a grenade. Flashbang.
B.
Deploying flashbang. Deploying flashbang. Throwing flashbang.
Back one.
Counter-terrorists win. A piece of cake, so nice work.
Zella that you've been looking for. Quality killer T, customer service on point. He's the one that's got the market in the chokehold, no doubt. So don't get it twisted, don't get it wrong. TG Modz is the one, that's where you belong. The best Zella on the market today. TG Modz the name, that's here to stay.